The injury bug is once again back, biting the Leafs in their behinds, with Mark Giordano going down with a significant injury. Mitch Marner was also injured, and will this affect his play going forward? And do these injuries put Brad Treliving in an interesting spot where he has to make a move? He has to make a trade. All of that and more in this video. My name is Darius Domingues, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. Guys, before we go any further, we've noticed that about 80% of you watching our videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to do myself and the other content creators on this channel a favor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything Toronto Maple Leafs. But without further ado, guys, the biggest news: the injury bug is back, biting the Leafs. All right, Mark Giordano goes down with an injury. Mitch Marner goes down with an injury in this game against the Florida Panthers. And I don't know where the Leafs go here. We're going to have to wait to see the extent of the injury to Mark Giordano, but it kept him out for the whole game. But we'll start with Mitch Marner, all right? Mitch Marner takes a puck in the jaw. Did not look like it tickled, all right? That looks like it definitely sucked. Kept him out the rest of the first period. And then as we take a look here, he came back for the second period sporting a cage, which I think was, it's pretty cool to see, pretty interesting. Don't see that every day. Usually you see the bubble visor that Bedard was sporting in junior. But he opted to go with the cage. And it was, I don't know, I just thought it was interesting to see him with the cage. And it didn't look like it hindered his play too much, but we'll get into that later in the video. But one person who did not come back for the second period was Mark Giordano. He was absent, not seen for the rest of the game. And then as we found out from Leafs PR, Mark Giordano will not return to tonight's game due to an upper body injury. Pretty vague. We don't know exactly what it is, the extent of him being out, but he is 40 years old. If it kept him out for the rest of the game, it could be pretty significant. So could this back, Brad Treliving into a corner and kind of force him to make a panic move? I think it does. The defense, we've talked about it numerous times on this channel. It is thin. It is not good enough. They're going to have to make a trade anyway. What better time than right now just to get everyone acclimated with the rest of the group? They're going to have to make a trade. But in the time being, maybe for, until Thursday when they play the Kraken, call somebody up from the Marlies. I really like Kolkinen in the preseason. He could be an option for you right away until you, pull the trigger on a trade. But let me know in the comments who you want to see be a Toronto Maple Leaf. I've been saying it the past couple videos in a row, all right? They have to get more toughness. They have to be tougher to play against on defense. They need a right-handed shot. So let me know if you have any, wish list guys you want to add to the team. Even if the salary doesn't work, just let me know what you want, But, with the salary working would be, best, because it's got to work for it to actually happen. But I love the Calgary fit. I love it. I don't know if Calgary wants to do it, but man, those guys on the Leafs, you see Tanev blocking shots with his face last night. Would be really nice to see him in the blue and the white. But that being said, I think this does, corner Brad Treliving into making a trade. Morgan Riley, we'll get into him later in this video. What a beast he stepped up, all right? But I don't think you can ask that of him every night. Simone Benoit, too, I want to give him some love. We've been giving him some love on the channel. He played great, and he really stepped up as well. But he's not a guy who can really step into that second pairing D spot like Giordano can. I'm not even sure Giordano on a Stanley Cup winning team is in that spot anyway. Let me know if you agree with that. But, man, I think this Treliving's got to do something now, especially if he's out long term. And hopefully Marner's injury doesn't hinder him. I mean, he played well the rest of the game, but that cage does something. So if he's got to wear that cage or a bubble for the next few games, I'm telling you, it really affects these guys in the NHL. It's the smallest things that we don't really think about. But I hope it doesn't affect him too much, because he's had a slow start to the season as is. But that being said, let me know who you think the Leafs should either call up. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Kolkinen in the Marlies, but let me know who you think they should trade for. But, without further ado, let's get into the game. The crazy shootout win against the Florida Panthers. It was absolutely insane. I really haven't seen anything like this. I saw it one time actually in the OHL, but for most people, I don't think anyone's ever seen this. And I love seeing stuff that you don't see every day. It's fantastic. All right. But let's start with something I absolutely loved in this game. The Leafs were not going in the first period. It was pretty evident, all right? It was pretty obvious that they were getting their show ran by a team on the second half of a back-to-back in the Florida Panthers, and they had WrestleMania at the end of their game last night against the Ottawa Senators. But anyway, I loved this from Sheldon Keefe. Going off on everybody. They showed a couple clips of him going off on the top guys, Matthews and Marner, going off on Bertuzzi, as you see here, going off on the defense. He expects better, and I love this out of him. I love the passion. You want to see this. You see this out of other coaches. You see this out of coaches that go to the Stanley Cup final. I want to see more of this out of Sheldon Keefe, and I loved to see it today. All right, I loved to see it. Now, to break the game down a little bit, the 2 penalties on Domi for cross-checking Tkachuk, I feel like the refs were kind of letting it get out of hand, all right? I feel like you got to let them play rough. Both teams are playing rough, right? The Panthers don't like the Leafs because they think that they can push them around, and the Leafs like to get pushed around, I guess, right? That's a real issue they've been having. But when they're finally wanting to push back, don't get in the way. It wasn't that bad of a play. It wasn't a malicious penalty or anything. He gave Tkachuk a shot. I thought it was interesting. Anyway, I thought the Leafs looked dangerous on the PK tonight as well. Had a couple chances. Didn't really let the Panthers get too much. I think that's positive moving forward. Nylander had another great game. Didn't score. I don't even think he got a point. But again, another great game. He hit the post a couple times. He probably could have had a hat trick, if post didn't exist. But I thought he played great as well. Like I said, hitting a couple posts. And then Noah Gregor comes through for the Leafs. He has surprised me this year. Honestly, he might be Brad Treliving's best signing so far for the Leafs, or best move as Leafs GM. He blows past everybody on almost every play. He hits. He's a typical fourth liner, but he plays his role really well. And then on this play, he just blows past everyone, puts it bar down like he's Austin Matthews or something. Great play, and ultimately gave the chance for the Leafs to win the game, which is fantastic because they really needed this win. But we'll get to the end of the game shortly. But I really like the pushback from the Leafs as well. This was a game where you knew they were going to be tested. Florida doesn't like to be pushed around at all. They like to push other people around. You saw it with Bennett fighting Domi, stuff like that. But the first was terrible, absolutely horrible. They did not start on time again. But I really liked the pushback, right? In the second period and the second half of the game in general, especially in the third period, I thought the Leafs dictated play. Positives again. Let's take the positives where we can, right? And I like the physical play as well. Mitch Marner, I like it when he plays pissed off. He got pissed off because he got dinged in the jaw, and he gets pissed off and he puts on the cage and he's throwing the ball around. He's knocking guys over. I like to see it. Austin Matthews as well, knocking guys over. He is 6'3", 215 pounds. He should be knocking guys over and taking the puck. He should be playing more like Matthew Tkachuk, just hungry on the puck. And I saw a little bit more out of that from those two guys tonight. So I think that's, again, we're taking any positives we can. All right. But I wanted to give some love because I feel like he's forgotten sometimes, behind some of the other superstars, to Morgan Rielly. We'll take a look at the stats here from the defense. Morgan Rielly, let's shift over if you can, no points tonight. That's all good. Plus, minus, +1. That's fine. Shift your gaze a little bit to the right at the time on ice. Morgan Rielly played 30 minutes tonight. Morgan Rielly played half the game with Mark Giordano going down with injury. He played literally half the hockey game tonight on his own, on the ice the whole time. Absolute horse. Morgan Rielly is, I don't know, I think he's becoming one of my favorite Leafs, especially after the playoffs last year. This guy puts it on the line for the team, and he played great. I don't think he made any glaring mistakes, which usually happen when you play that long. And, piggyback the team to a win with the help from Joseph Woll, of course. But, man, 30 minutes time on ice tonight. Absolute horse. Love Morgan Rielly. The Leafs got a 4-minute power play to end the game. Can't score on it. Stolarz was great tonight as well. Panthers didn't get much on their power play. The Leafs take another bench minor to end the game, which was it's a meme at this point. Absolutely ridiculous. I think it was a somewhat bad call because, the guy who touched the puck wasn't really changing for the... Anyway, if you go back and watch the replay, it's not technically too many men, but I get it. Whatever. You make the call, even it up, right? So it made for a very interesting and exciting 3-on-3. Joseph Woll stood on his head, giving the Leafs a chance to win. He's been great this year. No complaints from him. I mean, the defense really lets him out to dry, but in this game, he really stood on his own, man. Joseph Woll, I don't know where the Leafs would be without him. Matthews with a cheeky shootout move. And then one of the craziest endings, Rodriguez double taps the puck in, which you can't do. I didn't notice it on first glance. They showed a couple replays and you can see he double tapped it, which you can't do. The teams come back to the ice. The fans come back from the stands. Absolutely insane. Haven't seen this at the NHL level ever, I don't think. And then Noah Gregor comes and scores his second of the night on a breakaway. And the Florida Panthers couldn't capitalize on their chance. The Leafs win. After everyone was ready to go home, most people actually did go home, the Leafs end up winning the game. So I really like the pushback from the Leafs in this game, beating the Florida Panthers. You want to beat the team that eliminated you from the playoffs last year. You want to send a message. And there was a fight in this game. I like the physical pushback. They ended up winning the game. I know it's in the shootout, which is not, technically real hockey, but whatever. I like there's some positives to take from this game moving forward. I think it's nice and refreshing to see after the last couple of games. Mitch Marner getting in physically, and Joseph Woll standing on his head. Morgan Riley playing half the game, but there are some question marks with, some injuries, and will there be some trades? I think it's coming sooner or later, but let me know in the comments who you think the Leafs should trade for and what you think of the crazy game against the Florida Panthers tonight. For more content, check out the channel, and we will see you in the next video.